No, that's okay. It's the right thing to do, so, yep. All right, so,
You better start with the appointments again if you want.
You probably just update.
no,
All right.
there's no one on.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's recorded.
Yeah, we're good.
And Michelle's got it.
All right, so senior center.
Okay, I'm not sure what, you may have more things, but I think we need to talk about how we want to run Olime's vote.
Mm-hmm.
You can either go by referendum, it might be if the referendum works, you do Monday the 12th of June with an evening presentation by the committee at 7:30, maybe in the school, as has happened already, with a Tuesday the 13th vote from noon to 8 p.m. The bad news is that we probably have to use a voting machine and staff it up, so it could be $4,000 or $5,000 to do the referendum. The alternative would be that you could have a simple town meeting in one location or another, explain it and vote on it. That's basically what Lime is doing, and it would be a one-stop type thing.
Tim, would that be with a paper ballot and you put it in the box?
It could be a voice vote, show of hands, or a paper ballot.
I like the paper ballot idea because I think if we get a group large enough, people like to have their vote be private. I'm not saying we need a referendum for 5,000, but I think a paper ballot is important.
For the referendum piece, since that's one of the options, have you run those dates past the schools?
Yep.
Okay, just because the last day of school is the 14th.
So selectmen-wise, because it's fine, if we have a town meeting, there's 25 people to vote on basically like $4 million of expenditure.
Mm-hmm.
There could be folks that say, what the heck? You know, 25 people made the decision for this expenditure. So the other option is a referendum that costs $5,000, but you have appropriately, informed the community and that sort of thing. So those are the two options.
Right.
And so process-wise, so have the selectmen
well, we've been talked about referendum,
Yep.
and I spoke to the registrars today, and they explained some of the red tape, and so it can be done. They'd have to round up poll workers and all that. Their budget is kind of maxed, so it would be something they'd go over.
But that's because it's before June 3rd.
Right, yeah.
David?
We have the money.
Yeah.
Your point about turnout and advertising is right on, is absolutely true. But the school referendum that we just had, how many people came out for that?
400. That is usual and typical.
Well, but it's a small number. So my point is, I would advertise the hell out of a town meeting on the theory that if people know about it, they can just as well come to a town meeting as they could come to a referendum. But then we save the money and the complication.
I mean, I'd argue with the ease of coming out to a town meeting. For example, if both my husband and I want to be able to vote on something at a town meeting, we have to hire a babysitter so that we can both come out and vote on something at a town meeting. Versus a referendum, we can take turns going to the polls. And
go at 6:30 in the morning.
Right.
Each person goes after work. Or whatever.
Right.
To this point about publicizing, I have not I used to receive on a Friday afternoon a selectman's message.
Yeah, it's still going out.
I don't get it. I read it on social media, but it does not come to my mailbox any longer. So is there a glitch with the system? And if we are going to do a vote and highly publicize it, we need to make sure that part is working.
Sometimes there's a glitch with email. For example, Ian Deviser's email all goes to my junk folder because for no reason I haven't filtered it there. It just for some reason he sends it. It goes to bulk messaging.
But I used to get it in BJ and I one of us getting it.
Just kind of not just that, but no other.
So just process-wise, wait. So Tim, is there a recommendation from the Board of Selectmen in terms of process?
We talked about the two-stage thing, the information meeting the night before adjourning, just like the school does.
Yep.
Okay.
And, that with the summer people particularly.
That's also important.
It'll probably be $3.5 million for us. Now, that may not be, we may just decide to use surplus or who knows what. That's a later decision, but,
Right.
So, we typically with larger numbers, we have gone the referendum route. It's relatively large. It's not as big as some of the things. So we could do the Monday the 12th, Tuesday the 13th, the school's available, and
Well, are we as Board of Finance recommending first before Board of Selectmen recommending to go to?
I don't think you need to recommend. It's just kind of a consensus, and I personally think with something of this magnitude, it's better to be safe than sorry.
So ultimately, the Board of Selectmen has purview, but, hey, we voted and we would recommend it to the Board of Selectmen to recommend it to the town?
Eventually, we're going to have to vote on the money. We're going to have to add money to the
It's a small price.
registrar's budget for this year to cover the cost, because they're going to go over budget.
Or, if their budget is over, the other departments would be under, it could be transfers type of thing, depending on the size. I mean, if it's 3,000 or 4,000, it's probably not.
If it means that more people get to vote and know about it, I'm in favor of spending the $5,000.
I'll entertain a motion from somebody in terms of,
Do we need to vote on it?
I think a consensus, unless you want to.
well, no, how about a referendum ourselves, like we...
Oh, no, yeah, but we need language from the lawyer to say,
No, from us to the Board of Selectmen. Board of Selectmen are going to have to
yeah,
make it happen, right?
Yeah.
I'll
right.
make a motion that the Board of Finance recommend that the senior center project go to referendum.
I'll
Is there a
second the
second?
motion.
Great. Any further discussion? Hearing none, move to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Good.
Can I ask?
No, we'll tend to.
So,
Go ahead.
say-
Yeah, I
now
have,
that Jerry's...
I just,
That was a process thing, Jerry.
yeah, that's a process, but the process also is how our referendum, what's the referendum process in terms of, is Monday the 12th a public hearing?
Yep.
Or an information session? So if, does it have?
Well, the Board of Education has a board meeting, which is adjourned to the vote the next day. So we'll talk to the lawyer. It
Okay.
could be a Board of Selectmen's meeting.
Yeah, that
which
was the
will
first
have-
question.
Yeah.
Okay,
Now,
'cause
I guess Alan won't be available.
Alan's not going to be available, but I can handle it. And I've already lined up the architects and everybody else I need to do whatever we need to do, whatever
Yeah,
we need to do. Yeah, that's no big deal.
Yeah.
The other question that came up was the actual wording of the referendum. And
Yeah,
again,
and-
are you going to go for overall, because there's been discussion in the past of telling people of the overall cost versus
Yeah.
telling people what we're actually going to ask them to approve,
Yeah.
which is the 5.263,542, not 5.5.
Let's take this first step first. So the Board of Finance has done its job.
Yeah,
We recommended that the Board of
and
Selectmen...
I'll work with him.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent.
What we,
And then I'm happy to sit with you, too, if we need to present as well to folks, if it helps, the
Gary, see if you can get the line question for their vote.
Okay, Line's question. Yeah, okay.
Oh, that's a good start.
Well, Lime just included in their budget for the
No,
fiscal year.
there
Yeah,
is,
but they still have to have wording that talks about the total project. 'Cause-
Oh, sure, and I don't know whether they've had a town meeting to vote on the budget yet.
well,
May 25th is their meeting.
No, but Vijay, your point is right. It's not a separate item. It's part
we
of
want
their
to see what
budget.
they're doing,
Right.
so.
It's already in the budget.
So I have a question. We've not talked about it extensively, but the financing of it, we've said, we're going to borrow all of it,
Grant,
some of
maybe.
it, or none of it.
Right.
That decision, I would think, would have to be made before a public hearing.
Or expressed.
Well, I would think people, if are going to vote on a $5.5 million project, I'd want to know how it's being paid for.
Mm-hmm.
Whether
Well,
it's going to be bonded.
$57 million, they didn't know how they were going to pay for it.
Well, they knew it was the majority of it was being bonded.
And it was
And they were applying for state.
It was all pretty rough, is my point.
Yeah.
So we can-
I think, doesn't mean that's the way we do it. I'm just saying, I think where they didn't have the ability to pay for virtually any of that $57 million out of pocket. Because they don't have a pocket that deep at Region 18, because they can't. We do. We just talked about how we have
Surplus.
a significant surplus, and that, again, I think it'd be beneficial to taxpayers. What's the impact to me going to be?
Well,
But the question, for example, for the 5.5 million of town hall, 18 years ago, or whenever it was.
4 million.
Yeah.
18 also.
But it wasn't, it was the amount to be spent with a rough idea of where it may come from or not.
But still, 5.5.
We didn't have that kind of money
With
in
everything
surplus.
else that's
But
going
you're
on.
not borrowing at 7% right now.
People are
So-
going to want to know because we do have other large expenditures coming up.
That's true, but $57 million was approved without anybody talking about where interest rates were. So
Agreed.
my point is that the question to the voters is the amount with a rough idea of where it could come.
I'd like an update from
Let's
Jerry.
just talk generically right now about the question. We don't have to decide.
Right.
But if the bottom line question is, are we going to add $4 million to next year's budget so that the mill rate is going to go up by 7%? I think the answer is no, right? I mean, I assume first Jerry is going to get as much money as she can from grants and private contributions. And then we're going to discuss, I assume, how much to bond and whether to take anything from surplus, but not add it to a fiscal year budget.
Right. But
And that's the kind of conversation I would think we could have with the public.
But with the public, or should the Board of Finance have some
Something prep
opinion?
to say.
Well, more than what I just said.
Right,
Yeah.
me too.
Right, but
And I'm not leaning one way or the other, but here we are on May 15th. We don't have another Board of Finance meeting until after the date's being discussed.
And the
And we
public's
could
going
certainly
to
have
ask.
we can certainly have a
One
special meeting.
One of the unknowns is whether Senator Murphy's grant comes through, or the steep grants might materialize
We
later.
won't know that by June
So,
Yeah.
I guess we
13th either.
probably...
But that's my point, is we just don't know what the sources are. They can be described generically or
You
roughly.
could say if there's no grant money, we would
And we
take
did it
something out of surplus.
already.
We get a bunch of grant money,
In two public
maybe
forums.
we
I know.
don't need to do that.
Okay?
Go ahead, Jerry.
Yeah, no, Andy, your question is the question that came up at both the public forums that we had last week on May 8th and May 9th. How is it going to be paid for? And we outlined what we are attempting to do to reduce the cost. Good news, the Murphy, the CDS capital facilities grant that I wrote is now in the pipeline. We were notified by Murphy's office that we've
Move forward.
hit the first hurdle.
Yeah.
That's still a big if, but that's a $2.8 million reduction if we get that, with all the strings attached to it. And steep, that's $30 million are going to be released, and it'll be released at the end of this legislative session, which is June 7th, but we're actually going to start, David, Lam, and Tim and I are actually going to start drafting the 14-page old application, which won't change probably for this year, so that we can jump right on it. And then there's going to be private fundraising, and that's basically the third spoke that we're looking at. But we had significantly positive responses to that generic way of looking at raising money at the two public forums that we did with. We had about, in total, you guys had everybody here Monday night, and we only had about 30 people across the street, but we had almost 50 people at the center the next day. So we had roughly 80 people reflecting.
My point is, we can't lock in, folks are not voting on whether we borrow $3 million, whatever
the
it
idea
is.
is-
You can give them a rough idea in the
Right.
public forums, as Jerry has already done.
I think that's important, to be able to have that information to convey. It's not just,
But maybe Andy's point is the night before, and then you're going to vote on something,
Right.
like, let's get it out there. It could be, by the way, it could be zero, and we need to pull it all from, we need to be honest with folks, if we're not willing to,
you did a good presentation tonight to show that we do have funds available if we need it.
Yeah, but is it $1 million? Is it
No,
$3
no.
million?
I mean, I think it's gonna be, the net that we can't get from
Right.
third parties is gonna come either from bonding
Yeah.
or surplus.
Right.
Or a
To be
combination.
decided tomorrow. I mean, we're not gonna decide
We don't know.
that.
Absolutely.
And if for the,
Yep.
so for the public to know, I think that would be enough information for them to know.
It's the expenditure, just like the 57 million was just the expenditure that people were good with or not good with.
Right.
And then how it gets financed was,
The call of the meeting.
that's not part of.
There's no way there's an expectation of the
Taxpayers to know where the money's gonna come.
It is, but it's a looser conversation. It's not, they're not voting on, hey, it's 57 million and we're gonna get this much from grants and this much.
No.
That their vote is gonna be influenced by whether the money is coming out of their pocket today or 10 years from now.
True, but I think by
But that's
giving
not
them-
what the school did.
But showing a flat mill
So-
rate this year, I think gives the public confidence that we will solve this. And it will not be a huge hit in 1 year to one pocketbook.
I think we just need to lay out like the low, high, and most likely scenarios for financing,
Yep.
to Andy's point,
Yep.
and just and
I don't
and say,
think-
look, it could be the worst case is this, the best case
You
is
have to
this.
talk about it.
So that public meeting, forum, hearing, whatever, on
The
the
night
12th
before.
would be a combination of
Yeah.
Board of Selectmen,
Because Lime's gonna pay just out of their cash that they stole from the.
and they're
Well,
spreading, no, they're spreading it out. They're spreading it out.
Dave, you see their budget, the revenue's a lot less than the expenses, so they're gonna have to go fish.
Yeah, that was not the case last year, so, but anyway, so, I think that should be a topic for the public conversation, is what you're saying, but it doesn't,
Absolutely. Yeah, it doesn't have to be nailed down.
yeah, it doesn't have to be nailed down. But, mid-June, we're gonna have this, we don't have another meeting, but we could, to offer some guidance maybe, if the selectmen have,
So it's late in June.
some idea of what they'd like to do.
Well, as a taxpayer, and I frankly, the feedback that we got on the last week is people just want to know that due diligence is being done by everybody involved. So the idea that having this discussion is something that can be reflected already, that there's ongoing discussions about how this is going to get paid for. And
We will do it in as
creative,
economical a fashion as possible.
economical
Yeah.
and, but for the building committee, I just really needed clarification that, what the 12th was gonna look like, under whose auspices the meeting would be held and how it would be conducted. Okay, so, I will work with Tim on that.
I'll speak to the lawyers, but,
Yeah,
the initial reaction would be, it could be a Board of Selectmen meeting, which then could be adjourned
yeah.
to the vote.
And I can use the same avenues that we used for the forums, with all the newspapers, the parental portal on the Board of Education's website, we use that, the email blasts from the center, and, we'll get the word out the best way we can too, so, okay?
Okay, great.
Senior bus going.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jerry.
Okay, good night, guys. Good night.
Are we good? Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, excellent. All right, fire department. So, Steve, you coming up too?
Oh, stay right here.
Okay.
Come on.
Yeah. So we do have some overages potentially, right? And so I think, I talked to Rob a little bit about just kind of quantifying what we're dealing with and facts and everything else. If we can do something tonight, we will. If we can't, at least we got the facts to kind of figure out what happens before June 30. So we have on our agenda 2 items, but there might be operating issues as well. Operating budget issues. So we got washer dryer, Knoxbox allocation. Washer dryer is, you guys want to install it, so you need electrical that is
Right.
over and above.
Which we heard about this before.
Yeah.
Originally, they thought it was gonna be 10 grand for that
Yep.
modification.
And we got-
The information that's about less than 4,000.
Yes.
Cool.
To do that, but that money's still not budgeted, or it's gonna put them over budget this year.
Oh, yeah.
So, right, so there's that number, and then there's also the Knox box is a similar thing. That we have another like $2,100 for the locksmith to do the key parts.
Right.
That apparently wasn't in that original approved amount either, so there's about $2,100 there. And then, yes, our overall operating budget, from the sheets that we got in the beginning of May, our remaining budget reduced substantially from what it had been in like mid-April, like by about $25,000.
Now, your budget or your expenditures?
$25,000.
It's kind of fixed.
Additional, it was like a $25,000 hit that suddenly dropped, so it dropped our budget down to not a whole lot left. And so, yeah, we're pretty definitely going to go over budget this year.
Well, we had fuel overruns.
Right, there's fuel, electricity is like a huge number over, and that apparatus fuel, so not just like heating, but apparatus fuel. So there's a few major categories that, are just those things that are out of our control. And then we've also had some maintenance expenses as well, or, equipment apparatus that, that's had some expenses on top of it. So
Surprise repairs and maintenance? Or?
Yeah, like right now we've got a reel for one of the trucks that got broken at the fire, and so that's coming in. We actually don't know the price of that quite yet, and things like that are just, have added up.
So you got 6 weeks left and no money, basically.
So I think our sheets at the beginning of May was about $6,000 remaining.
But on the other side, what do you expect outflows? So you got $6,000 against what for needs?
So that's where we actually don't know the exact numbers because, things like the utilities that, are going to hit and we don't even know what those are going to be.
Yeah.
We have told our officers not to spend any more money, so if there were some things remaining, had a line item that had dollars, don't spend it.
So you got $6,000 right now left in the budget, roughly. Small and big. What do you think that could be? Bigger than a bread box, smaller than
like a $10,000 number.
10,000 net that you would need through June 30?
Yeah,
But
right.
that's
That's just budget.
Operating budget, that has nothing to do with lockbox and electric.
So there's 3 things. That's what I'm trying to tease out there.
Yes.
Yeah. So you would need potentially $10,000 on the operating.
The operating budget. Yep.
And then $2,100 for Knox box, and then washer dryer $4,000-ish.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So what about the panel that powers those washer dryers?
So we talked to 2 other electricians, and they decided they didn't need to do like the separate panel, and they're able to use what we have and run the new conduits and everything. That's why the price is that much less.
That's why it's $4.
Okay.
And so once we get rationality, the budget's approved, all our big panels replaced, but it'll all still work.
To do $20,000 capital, $20,000 operating if we need it. What's that?
I'm just looking.
Dave, Nicole used to say when you're within a 9-iron, you go toward the end of the year before you jump necessarily, because if some other department in the budget is way under, you're under 20,000, which is a threshold to avoid town meeting. But if there's some department that's 40,000 underspent, you could do the transfers at the end of the year without having to do the appropriation per se. So we still have time to wait. I don't know.
Well,
But I think the one question, because again, Rob and I went back and forth a little bit. We've obviously, we allocated the money for the washer and dryer almost a year ago. And it's important for them to be able to get that up and running sooner rather than later.
Yep.
And so, to their credit, they didn't want to go spend the money knowing this was going to further put them over budget without being here.
Yeah.
As well as the Knox boxes. So, if we say, okay, we're aware of this stuff now, get it done, and then in June, we look at where we are then after getting...
Are those first 2 items budget items, or are they sort of capital items? So they're...
That's what I was asking Andy.
I'm trying to look to see where the Knox boxes were.
It could be carryover, too.
Knox box for
No, it's where they are, whether they were in like maintenance, which would be operating.
Scheduled Golden trucks, it was last year's budget at the time. We probably got enough tumblers And recently, there was no material from the manufacturer, everything was on delay. And we missed finding our carryovers and the
This is on us, it's not on you guys.
Yeah.
I think the Knox boxes might have been in operating, but the washer dryer, I really don't know. And we're
That was the one, we
But they
voted
were
for
already
that
paid for it.
outside.
Yeah.
Yeah,
separate expensive.
It's the panel that,
Do you have carryover right there?
yeah, I've got carryover here.
And Andy, we're not
I
getting
mean, which we,
carryover sheets now?
Well, I've got the last one that we got the end of January.
Yeah, well, there was.
Which these guys haven't-
we could do the electrical as an operating budget item, it's just gonna like,
We have to find out where
then,
the
we're gonna go
money
that
is.
much further over, you know, and get it done.
But, David's point is if, like, the Knox boxes were in capital, that's over here,
Yeah.
and operating's
And we
over
can-
here, which
we can
gives us
approve-
the opportunity.
yeah.
Okay.
It gives us a little more flexibility on that.
Rob, is the Knox box for cross lane only or all of them?
So that Knox boxes are like throughout town at multiple locations.
More abroad.
Yeah, it's like 40 or 50 of them.
can we get updates?
One big
How
question
do you think that's done?
is, we haven't approved any overages for fire department in this fiscal year. I don't recall.
No, I don't think so.
Right, so we've got authority. What's that?
Yeah. Do it. Is there a way we can get updates from Kelly in the meantime if we need it, and maybe
Right, Andy,
circulate it to the Board of
Yeah.
Finance, and then we can act on it in June?
Yeah, I guess,
Yeah.
If that's
Knox boxes
January.
have money?
It's under capital.
could you identify a line that's general on to the Knox box, Knox box and the dryer in the general budget
God,
somehow?
if there's carryover.
Yeah, so the electrical, I mean, we could do it on one of the building maintenance lines.
Just said on the,
Correct. So the 4,100. So we've got 6,100 in kind of capital for
Yeah.
those two
Yeah,
items.
that's, you
And
see,
then
if
they're
we
gonna be
can
short.
plug them into the
10
operating
grand
budget,
for the
that's
next 6 weeks.
That should come out of operating.
Net.
settle
The
up
operating.
next month.
So
It'll,
you
look
question
at
for
the
us
money
is
though.
if we can
Can
approve.
do it.
It sounds like it'll do it.
You've got the
Well, that's-
I'd wait till June.
Me too, that's why I said I'd get updates.
So for that, so maybe on operations, yes.
So
What about?
Knox boxes are under capital.
Okay. Knox boxes are under capital.
Yeah, so we find
I
those
didn't get
under
one of
capital.
these.
Yeah, so we get that on to capital.
And the electrical could probably go under capital.
That's what I'm thinking.
Well, the washer and dryer, you said could go to building maintenance.
But we're not doing washer and dryer, we're only doing the
washer and dryer
electrical
already
panel.
purchased.
They have the washer and dryer, right?
Yes, it is. The electric hookup is 4,000.
Right, but
Well,
that's the
it-
electric
it-
hookup for the washer.
Well,
Yeah, it seems more appropriate to put an electrical panel upgrade under buildings as opposed to tying it to the washer dryer.
Right.
How about this? Because Knox box,
John.
we, $7,000, we just approved, right? John approved
For the next
$7,000.
year.
What you're saying is, yeah, $7,000
That's-
plus,
That's this
Uh,
coming year.
there's the-
plus
21,
$2,100.
22 years.
Oh,
That's last year.
That's last year.
So we've got allocated right now, and this is totally procedural, but we've got $7,000 that's already been approved.
It's in 21, 22.
Good.
You're in the wrong
You
year.
might have carried it over.
But it hasn't been spent, right?
Yes.
It's gone.
It's gone.
Right, so the Knox box,
Yeah.
because that was for the.
That's why it's
right,
not in carryover.
That's why we're talking about it as an extra,
It's
because
all
It's
gone.
something else. that's-
getting them actually installed is costing $100 more than that amount.
They're looking for new money,
Were
Dave.
there also devices in the truck that could do magic things with the Knox?
Yeah, we got those we have also.
It's okay.
all part of it.
These are relatively small numbers. We don't want to be imprudent about them. But, so we have not done anything this year for fire department for overages.
Right.
So we have purview at the Board of Finance up to 20 grand for certain line items, right? Operating as well as capital?
I think so.
Think so. Pretty sure.
Yeah.
So,
Or we can look
on the operating side, let's wait and see where you guys are over,
Let's,
okay? We'll
Yeah.
push that until June.
Fair enough.
On the $6,100, thank you all for being here until like 10 o'clock at night. But I'll entertain a motion for the $6,100 that would cover washer and dryer and Knox box allocation
if you could do that under building maintenance, the 4,000, instead of washer dryer, it's another operating expense, and you wait and see.
Right, so the 4,000 come out of our operating budget,
Yeah.
we can do that.
Yeah.
Use your bullet now for appropriation.
Right.
You
But,
can't
but then we're at
appropriate later.
14 grand.
It's still less than 20.
I know, but I want to get close to 20.
David,
I mean, it's 6 weeks.
But if you have to do
But if
two
something
separate.
These guys have like 10
Same
calls.
thing.
I don't think that
My concern would be if,
having to go twice.
but that's fine.
$4,100 now, you're gonna be able to appropriate more later.
Yep.
I mean,
Oh.
We have time.
So why don't we just appropriate $16,000 today?
dilemma.
and
I'm
then
afraid of-
We can
figure
wait
out
till after
what
July
to
1 and do
do
it
with
then.
any excess tomorrow.
but we don't have the money in next year's budget either, that's gonna short you on something else, we're better off to lump it together.
Alright, fair enough.
You guys should have raised your hand like an hour ago.
That would've calmed things down.
We're gonna say $11,000 and put it to us.
Yeah, but you had two guys behind you that might not have liked that.
I think we should get more information from Jim.
I think we wait till we get, if we can get a May
Yeah.
update for our June.
Actual-
Yeah.
And as I recall, Tim, in the past, we could even allocate money in July,
Right.
Because it's not,
going back, because it,
Right.
Because it was incurred in
Correct.
June or something?
correct.
Yeah. So,
The operating advice is go and
What?
spend the money. And
Right.
we'll worry about.
I mean,
yeah,
these things.
that's right.
I mean, it's- and that's what they're here.
BJ's point is right.
And
Do
that
what
was-
you need to do.
Yeah.
That
Put
was,
it in the washer and
but
dryer,
that was
get
Rob's
a
whole
report.
point
Yeah.
of reaching out to
Do
me
the
as a
$2,100.
specialist was,
Do what you
we
have
don't
to
want to do this.
Perfect.
We don't want to
Do
go
it
over
and come
budget
back
without you
later.
guys knowing. And
Yep.
Okay, so
We'll do it.
if we're angry next month, we've forgotten about this conversation.
Rob, the meeting was recorded, so you can go back and get the recording.
Let's make sure Steve's here and I'm not.
All right, so
Thank you.
we'll just push this off?
We'll just keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
Keep us
And
updated.
in 4 weeks, just tell us where you are.
Right, and hopefully we'll have better ideas.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for
Not to
actually
exceed-
For
keeping
hanging out.
enough track to know you're going to be over.
Yeah, that's one of those, I haven't been in that situation before with the fire department.
Yeah,
Like, hey, this is the first time we got a problem.
yeah. All right.
That's right, and by the way, today is May 15th, the fire department is 100 years old
saw that.
today.
Congratulations, guys.
But actually, it started here in Town Hall 100 years ago. It was the first meeting that was held with the fire department.
You guys look
Yeah,
pretty
the fire
good
truck
for
used to be
100.
downstairs.
Yeah, everything was here downstairs, all that good stuff. So,
That's right, this town hall was like 2 years old.
yeah, so we're having a book published, that's the whole history of the fire department that Michaela is doing.
Cool.
So that'll
Oh, very cool.
Awesome.
Right.
That's awesome.
Michaela? Yeah, that's
Good.
awesome.
You're gonna sell it, I hope.
Yeah, yeah. I'm giving it to our members, but we're selling it to the public. But maybe we can go get you guys copies.
Any calendars? Any calendars out of you guys?
Oh, my God. You put that in the budget.
Good night.
Good night. Oh my God, that'd be so fun. Want to see my hose?
All right, almost there.
Approved minutes.
Approval of minutes.
I move to approve the goddamn minutes.
Michelle, those are X's.
I wrote it,
For
but I
BJ's
read it, but I can't remember any of it. I could check mine, so.
I do.
Yeah,
I don't know what to say, we're gonna-
I've got it.
I guess we're not getting a selectmen's report.
We still have other business. I actually had,
Yeah.
so after the last meeting, I
Well,
spoke.
should we approve the minutes?
Oh,
before we-
yeah.
Are
you anxious to go?
I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second the motion. Oh, good.
Okay, second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Any
favor.
comments, et cetera? No? Vote to approve, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay.
BJ. Maria.
Okay,
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Maria,
point.
yeah.
Maria.
Okay. Purposefully
No problem.
put
No
other
problem.
business on, so, yeah.
Okay.
So, first, after the last meeting, I spoke, Sheila Riffle was here observing.
Yep.
And she sort of said to me after, what's the procedure if someone has something to say to the Board of Finance? And, we don't put public comments on our agendas.
Mhm.
The Board of Ed does, a lot of other boards do. It's something to consider doing. I don't know if we'd put it at the beginning of the agenda or at the end of the agenda or where, or both, or where it would go. But something to consider. If no one's here, we just move on.
Yep.
But I think, her comment was that she'd looked at agendas in the past and not seen public comments and sort of said, oh, well, why would I go if there's not opportunity for the public to participate?
So the agenda is the purview of the chair. Totally fine with it.
Yep.
If the chair changes,
Right.
whatever somebody wants to do. But I think that we should do what the Board of Ed does, which Ian is in control of, and it's like a minute for people to do, or whatever.
3 minutes. 3 minutes.
Okay, 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
So,
considering what happened tonight, when we told people they should come to meetings if they'd like to find out more information or have a question, I think it's appropriate to add that.
yeah, and what I would say is, if anybody is ever here, we've always
We've always let
indulged
them speak.
folks.
Yeah, I think
there's that, but-
it's intimidating to come into a meeting and to go, when do I say something?
Yeah.
Do I just
Totally get it.
Yeah.
Totally get it.
What do I do?
So I think that's appropriate.
I
If
think
we
so.
continue, so Michelle,
A good
And that
agenda.
was sort of her
any of
question.
our
If I have
regular
questions,
meetings, not special meetings.
Yeah.
We can decide on special meetings.
Yeah.
But regular meetings, we'll just have public comment in there.
Right.
And shouldn't it,
Where, at the end?
At the end.
really at the end?
I don't
mean,
think so.
the only problem I have with it being at the end, if there are items on the agenda that we're going to vote on,
Yeah.
having public comment at the end,
No.
I think we do it
Why be
right in
here?
the
I think you
beginning,
do it at
just
the
like
beginning and let
Board of
them-
Ed does.
Yeah, after.
Well,
I've also seen boards, other places, put public comment at the say and then public comment at the end.
Yeah. I mean, that was.
I know.
it's sort
So
of,
if something
you know,
comes up
6 of
during
one,
the
half a
meeting
dozen
that someone
of
wants
the
to
other.
say
If
something.
something came up during the Board of Finance meeting that the person wants to comment on.
no, but Andy's point is, look, it's worked just fine. Like,
I mean,
if people are
we
here
have
for a
let
particular, yeah,
but I think having it on the agenda
Yeah.
makes it more inviting.
that's right.
And-
So we can decide.
Right, as people are coming into
Right.
the space, they're sort of like, what do I do? I don't know when I say something, if I have something to say.
Maria's all intimidating over here.
You don't want,
After the call to order,
right.
public comment is.
I mean, that's the Board of Ed, they do announcements and then
The
it's,
agenda based on what's going on there.
yeah.
I wouldn't,
I would put it at the beginning or the end.
It's 10:30, I
think
want to
you
go
want-
home, I
yeah,
don't
I
want to
think
sit
you
here
put it
for
at the
half an
beginning.
hour.
Wait, what?
For public comment. At the
I'm ready
end of
for
it.
any emotion that you would like to.
I did have one other thing that was more something for Tim.
We'll answer for him.
Well, I was at the Cross Lane Playground this past a week ago Sunday. It is in desperate need of mulch and maintenance.
Park and Rec.
But someone needs to tell Park and Rec.
We used to do a lot of parent work parties, and I'm not
Oh, I
saying
know.
this can be done on that,
We've done
but-
work parties there before. This is
Beyond that.
the ADA mats that are there that make it accessible are supposed to have mulch that
Called
come right
down.
up
Called down.
level. Yeah.
Called
There's
down.
lichen growing all over it. It's just, it needs some cleanup. It's only 5 years old.
Public Works and Park and
It's really
Rec.
Park and Rec.
Park and
Yeah.
Rec first.
So,
Not Board of Finance. though.
No.
Not Board of Finance. It was more a question for.
I'll make a motion
He just
that,
ran out.
I know.
I'll make a motion to add at the chair's discretion, public comment to future agendas.
Is that-
for Board of
is
Is
that
that my
discretion
I don't
already?
think you need to.
No?
Yeah.
Okay, just add
Can you
public
withdraw
comment, period.
Yeah.
I'd like to make.
I will make sure that happens.
Okay.
Michelle,
Do you want it at the beginning or at the end?
We don't know.
after other business.
After other business, okay.
Public comment, and then the invitation is offered. And
We can
as
always
Andy
move
said,
it.
like, no matter what, if someone is here for a particular item,
Not
you
yet.
can talk to that item.
It's
Yeah.
not in the Zoom.
All right?
yeah, I did just, I sent an email out earlier today.
Yes.
And there's no reason to discuss it without Tim here, concerning the bonuses again. I have no issue with the bonuses, it was the process. And I'm not sure if that should have come to the Board of Finance, because it was money spent that was not budgeted. That the Board of Selectmen
I was
make that.
reminded that this came up during COVID, that someone proposed offering one-time bonuses to town employees, and it went nowhere because there was no precedent or no protocol, or there was nothing.
Folks were not in town hall, so.
Right,
That too.
right. I feel like one-time payments have come up in the past, and for various reasons, they have not happened. So sort of in
But
follow-up to that,
it's more the process of.
Yeah,
is
right.
that an-
But that
you know,
goes along
certainly
with the
it's something
process.
that
The
Board of
process,
Selectmen can recommend, as they usually do, and it comes here for approval.
Yeah,
there was no process.
that was Andy's point, was.
That was
Yeah.
my point, more about the process. I'm on the
Yeah.
salary committee, I heard about it.
And, by the way, if there's money in the budget, like, the
Yeah.
Board of
I don't
Finance has
think-
nothing to
right,
say
right,
about it. We have
right.
approved the budget, you
But-
get to, like, jigger it
But
out
still.
if you like.
But there's
Anyway.
a process and it wasn't adhered to.
Yeah,
Anyway,
that-
you can-
right.
I'm not
it's
sure if
really-
there was a process or is a process. I mean, it's never really been done before, I think.
Well, I think we're under unique circumstances in that we have some
Agreed.
personnel
Agreed.
not here,
But-
other people picking up slack and all that.
Agreed.
I don't have any qualms, it's just,
And,
maybe it should be in the personnel book, no.
yeah, but,
Oh,
no, but full disclosure, Tim did talk to me about it
Yeah.
in concept, right? But that's where it ended.
Yeah.
So he said, and I was, like Andy, I said, that's great.
How much was it in the aggregate?
It's
It's
total
like $3,000 or
$4,000.
Yeah.
$4 grand.
Total.
Yeah.
Motion to adjourn.
I won't even take a second on that one. I'm done.